Imagine if you could have a mix of an awesome platformer and an awesome kart racer. You'd have a freaking amazing game. Do you want that game though? Well, too bad, we can't get it. None, from what I know, they don't exist. But I do know of a game that is a mix of a platformer and, well, not a kart racer, but a racing game. This game is called, well, apparently it's in my face. Get out of the way!
Crash Tag Team Racing was released in 2005 for the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. There was actually going to be a DS version, which actually would have been really cool to see, but sadly didn't make the light of day. This game's gotten so many mixed opinions on the whole Crash community, but like the FNAF community, the Crash community can get wild, but not too wild like the FNAF community. Also,
why the heck did the developers have to mess around with the names?
Crash Bandicoot 2 Entranced equals Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back. Crash Bandicoot Purple Ripto's Rampage equals Crash Bandicoot 2 Ripto's Rage. Now Crash Tag Team Racing equals Crash Team Racing. Are you kidding me? Be original, guys. But hey, why not we just hop into the game? The story of this game is that a cyborg named Von Clutch has made a new motor park for people to race in, but he is now in danger for all of his power gems have went missing, including his black power gem, which is his life source. Whoever gets all of the power gems back will get the ownership of Von Clutch's park. To be honest, I would give less of a fuck about the story. It's kinda retarded, and if you haven't played the game, then you can't tell, but if you have, then you would tell. One of the major plot holes is, what is the point of getting the power gems? I mean, there is an explanation for Von Clutch, because it's his life source, but really, there is not any explanation to why the other power gems are needed. It's just kind of, it doesn't make any sense. Why not we just get into the gameplay? The gameplay as a platformer is nothing related to the previous installments. For one thing, Crash feels unfinished and weird to control. If you keep mashing the square button, Crash will just keep spinning forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Crash's jumps do work, but they feel off. It's kinda hard to explain. When you double jump, Crash does not fall in the middle of it. He just stays in the air for like a few seconds and then falls down a few seconds later. Those two problems really gives me the idea that he was unfinished. Although it wasn't a major problem, Crash's gameplay doesn't revolve around completing a level or going to find crystals, but rather than finding crystals in preset areas. You need a certain amount of crystals to get a warp pad thing to get the power gem. Although the platforming doesn't feel as fun in the previous Crash games. But although it was decent enough, there is a goal that you need to do, and it wasn't boring. The level design encouraged you to go to places that you should go in order to get the crystal. Although this is fun, I still prefer the previous games over this. Crystals can be found in little set areas, winning races or doing side quests. Side quests?
Side quests in a Crash game. For one thing I know, why would there be side quests in a Crash Bandicoot game? I mean, I understand this is a different type of genre, but seriously, side quests in a Crash game. Think about it. Tell me that's not ridiculous. I mean, seriously, I expect these in RPGs, but in a Crash game, just imagine if you could listen to this all day.
Yo, you want this video game? Hell yeah! Then go get me the doggy treats. Damn it. Let's talk about the races. They're okay. They aren't as fun as Pac-Man World Rally or CTR, but they're pretty damn good. There is a new mechanic known as clashing, where you don't play Clash of Clans, but you clash into another racer and you work together to win. When you are clashed with one player does the driving and the other does the shooting. Depending on what character you are, you will have a different weapon type, although some weapons are way too overpowered. But there is really nothing else to say about the races. They're all pretty easy. The soundtrack of this game, it isn't the best I've heard, but it's alright. But this game has poor graphics. I mean, for example, look at Crash's hands. They don't have individual fingers. Don't count the texture. Count the model. And what was this made in? 2005? 2005.
2005. 2005. Okay, let me get this straight. There are games released before this that had better graphics. Even games around this time had good graphics. Better graphics than this. 2005. This was made in 2005, and the graphics are crap. Unacceptable!
I don't expect top quality, but the developers can do better than that. I know I'm not that good at modeling, but this is an officially licensed Crash Bandicoot game. Graphics need a lot of work. Now for the flaws. This game doesn't have much flaws other than the models, but in every level, the music source is not on your camera. It's somewhere near the entrance, and I have to ask,
why? Why does it have to be at the entrance? Why does the music source have to be at the entrance? It should be on the camera so we can all hear it. Really? Were the developers that stupid?
Another problem is the ending. I'm not going to explain it because of laziness of writing this script and spoilers, but if you've beaten the game, then you probably know why the ending sucks. And it's not even worth your time. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. If you're afraid of spoilers, then just click this annotation or whatever, just look at it, skip the part of the video. There is no final boss. No race.
Just a push of a button. No more, no less. In order for you to win the game, you have to get all this crap, and the reward you get, the final boss, the closest thing to a final boss, it's a push of a button. Let me show you. Let me show you. Let me show you. You want to see how it... Here, you want to see how the final boss is? That. Just doing that. One time. One little tap. I quit.
And that's pretty much Crash Tag Team Racing. This game has a lot of flaws, though I do have a lot of fun playing this game. This game's story mode is very short, and I mean it's shorter than Luigi's Mansion, and that's saying something. I really don't know what else to say. I do think this game does hold up to the originals, though, and pretty much all the other Crash games. It's really enjoyable, yet there are a few flaws, and I totally would recommend it for you if you're into this type of stuff. My name is Hydro Gamer, and thanks for watching.
So, movies and TV shows tend to get some merchandise, while fans of the TV show or movie find it really cool. The company that made the TV show or movie finds it more of a cash grab. The video games that are based off of them tend to be really shit. But we're going to be talking about a particular one today that's not really shitty or good in that matter. In fact, a few movie licensed or cartoon licensed video games tend to be alright, but we're going to be talking about a certain one today. I am Loaten Reviews, and today we're going to be taking a look at Lyoko Quest for Infinity for the PlayStation 2.
Before we start, I want to give a quick summary of Lyoko. Lyoko is an animated series that began in the early 2000s. The show consists of a gang of kids who find a supercomputer who fight against an AI program called Zana. Zana is trying to take over the world and destroy all that crap and blah blah blah. And the kids have to go to a virtual world called Lyoko to stop Zana and save the world. Now that we know that, we're going to put the game in the disc and the blah blah blah. Let's just get this started already. The game starts us off in Caddick Academy, which is basically our main menu. You can actually interact with the other kids in Caddick, get a more in-depth feeling of what they can be like. That is if you haven't seen the show. If you have seen the show, then you're probably going to know what they say and stuff. And some of them can be interesting and some of them can be downright stupid. You can actually go in the factory and go to Lyoko, which is the main part of the game. The game's story is based off of Season 4 of the show, but there are a few differences. I won't explain them, but if you haven't seen Season 4, then I suggest you to avoid this video because there will be spoilers. The story of Lyoko Quest for Infinity is the gang has to destroy the replicas of Lyoko and free William from Zana. That's it. You get to play as the 4 Lyoko warriors, Odd, Yumi, Ulrich, and Aelita, each equipped with their own powers. Odd has his basic laser arrow and shield, Yumi has her fans, Aelita has her energy fields, and Ulrich has his katanas. Each Lyoko warrior fights minorly differently. I say minorly because almost all of them are shooting ones. I always prefer to play as Odd. As you can see in the footage, I play as Odd a lot, because he's the most powerful character. Okay, Yumi kind of is. Well, she uses her fans as a homing attack, but the maximum amount of hits she can go up to are 6 hits, including the other enemies. But Odd has an automatic lock-on for his laser arrows. Well, on the PS2 version. On the Wii version, you actually have to point your Wii controller at the enemy you want to shoot, which can be outright tedious. Thank God I am playing the PS2 version. Aelita also has a shooting attack like Odd, except with a few differences. With her shooting attack, she can actually charge up her energy field and shoot it at the enemy, which can actually take down a group of enemies depending on how long you charged it up for. But the tedious thing about it is that every time Aelita shoots, you have to stop in order to shoot. Another reason why I like Odd is that he can shoot, lock on, and he can move around while he's shooting. Ulrich has his 2 katanas, meaning he has melee attacks. If you press the square button 3 times, Ulrich will do 3 combo attacks. But if you actually hold the square button, Ulrich will automatically do his combo attack, which I bet was not the developer's intention. Each of the characters have their own special move. Odd can have the ability to slow down time, Yumi can use telekinesis, Ulrich can use a triplicate, and Aelita can freeze enemies. All of these special moves, instead of Ulrich's triplicate, are all gimmicks. Some of these moves are just downright useless. I only truly use them when the game wants me to. Sometimes I'd like to use the triplicate on random enemies just to shave down their health. But when am I ever gonna use the telekinesis move? I can't work it on enemies, so I can only work it on the rocks. Aelita freezing the enemies only used when I want to get up a platform. It's not gonna help if I just want to stop the enemy. And Odd's time control? Well, I think that speaks for itself. You can actually upgrade the Lyoko warriors, which makes them a little less useless, but I still liked sticking to Odd. The enemies you fight in this game are basically the same in the show, with a few other ones that aren't from the show. They aren't real different, just shoot them with Odd and you'll be good. Some of these enemies will have shields and you'll have to knock back their attack or use Ulrich's triplicate to take them down. But that's pretty much all I have to say for enemies. for levels. You got Sector 5, Forest Sector, Ice Sector, Desert Sector, Mountain Sector, Volcano Replica Sector, what? Yeah, there's actually a volcano level in this game.
God dang it. Really? I mean, the volcano sector level in this game is fun, but I don't get it. Why is everyone's fascination with fire levels? They're goddamn irritating. At some points, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why fire levels? Why fire?
For a PS2 game, these graphics are beautiful. Now, it isn't as good as games like Crash Twisanity, but it would make a good runner-up. The soundtrack, though, is just awesome. The composers just put a lot of ambient in these songs to replicate the levels that they were based off of, and it works just perfectly. Now, there are a few tracks that were reused from the show, but most of the soundtrack is completely original. Well, for this game. I especially get a kick out of the ice level music. In fact, I always get a kick out of ice level music. I don't know why, it's something about their beat and melody that I just love. Let's talk about the boss fights. The fights you have with William are totally pathetic. If you use Yumi, these boss fights are easy as pie. But they shouldn't be. William was like the most powerful character in Code Lyoko. He should be very hard, but in this game, he's just incredibly easy. That's pathetically sad. As for other boss fights, well, they are easy too, but they're actually really fun and memorable, so nothing bad there. The last thing I have to talk about for this game are the digital C levels. Oh my god, they suck. They're so terrible and so unforgiving. There are so many enemies that are after you. You have to shoot at their lasers just so they don't shoot at you. You have to kill them as fast as possible. And William actually fights good? My god. It's so easy to fuck up and die. Seriously, I'd rather be playing the special stages in Sonic Heroes. If you die, you have to start over to the beginning. And good lord, these levels are not fun. They're so bad and they're so tedious, and it's probably the worst part of the game. In conclusion, Code Lyoko Quest for Infinity is an average game. It's not very good, but it's not very bad. I would definitely say it's a lot better than the most below average TV or movie licensed games. Would I recommend this game? Well, if you're a fan of Code Lyoko, definitely yes. It's a good tryout. If you're a person who's not that into the show, I guess you would find it a little fun, but not as much as usual fans would. I am Loaten Reviews, and I'll see you next time.
So Sonic the Hedgehog had a really hard time getting himself into the third dimension. While Super Mario 64 and Crash Bandicoot were rocketing themselves up into the sky, Sonic was just sitting down here doing nothing like a sad, sad little Bandicoot. I mean Hedgehog. Well, I mean Plumber. You get the idea. So, there came a day where a 3D Sonic game did happen. It wasn't Sonic Extreme, because that game got canceled, and it wasn't Sonic Adventure. It was Sonic 3D Blast. Let's review that then. Here we go. It was Sonic 3D Blast for the PlayStation, for the game, whatever the fuck. Let's get this started.
So yeah, Sonic really did have a miserable time going to 3D. Many people prefer Sonic Adventure, the first 3D Sonic game, when it actually isn't. The first real 3D Sonic game was actually a cancelled Sonic game by the name of Sonic Extreme that was made for the Sega Saturn. The game was cancelled due to the developers getting heavily stressed out. But the true 3D Sonic is Sonic 3D Blast for the Sega Genesis. Let's hop into it. So when we hop into the game... Is that Traveler's Tales? You mean the developers who created Crash Bandicoot and the Wrath of Cortex and Crash Twisanity and all the LEGO games?
What the fuck?
So
we see this cool little intro of Sonic 3D Blast, and oh my god, it looks amazing. For its time, at least. I mean, compared to today's standards, it looks roughly mediocre. So the plot of Sonic 3D Blast is actually kind of the same plot as Sonic 1, except Eggman is getting the animals from a place called Flicky Island, where Sonic must rescue them all. That's really it. So we hop right into the game. I have to say, this game looks beautiful. For a Sega Genesis game, this is really impressive. Hell, I would even say that it's better than Crash Bandicoot and Super Mario 64. But this is kinda lame though, because it's a fake 3D game, while Crash and Mario were real 3D games. Oh, whatever. The game uses pre-rendered 3D graphics, and that's why it looks really good. Good damn, look at these bright colors. I mean, just look at them, they look fucking amazing. I actually kinda wish all Sonic games were like this. As for the soundtrack, well, it has that same classic nice 16-bit beat.
So, obviously I'm gonna say it's good.
Now, it sounds like that I actually like this game. I'm gonna sing you guys a new song that I wrote. Fully original and amazing. No.
Yeah, as good as the graphics and music are, the gameplay itself is shit. Basically, in each level, you don't have to go to the end of the level to actually beat the level. You actually have to do some stuff before you do so. Isn't Sonic supposed to be about running fast? It's about getting towards the end of the level. Don't bring up Shadow the Hedgehog, because that's a spin-off game and that's way different. But in each level in Sonic 3D Blast, there are a few areas in each level. You have to destroy 5 robots, which contains flickies. You have to collect all 5 flickies, go to the end part of the area in that level, where you will find a ring. Jump towards the ring, and the flickies will go in there. Put all 5 flickies in, and you'll be teleported to the next area of the level. Once you do this again in the next area, or other area, or whatever, you will complete the level. But doing the same thing over and over again is just so boring and tedious. One major problem I have are the controls. They're basically Sonic Heroes controls, but doubled, which means it's fucking worse. And for those of you who probably haven't played Sonic Heroes and haven't experienced their controls, basically the controls in this game are that Sonic builds up ridiculous large amount of momentum, and he bounces around like a damn ball. The controls made it feel unplayable. Another problem I had was killing the enemies. I found myself using the spin dash trying to kill the enemies. Wasn't one of the main ways to kill enemies in a Sonic game was jumping on them? Well, that's completely worthless here. There actually is a power-up where you can actually do a homing attack on the enemies. Fun fact, this power-up would actually later become one of Sonic's main moves in later games. Use this power-up. But even with the spin dash or the power-up, the enemies are still hard to kill. Sometimes they'll just fucking hit you by surprise, and sometimes you'll just knock them up just like that. But that still doesn't change the fact that the enemies are unfairly hard to kill. You wanna know what's even worse? Joe is here. I thought Scrubby told me that you were fucking Collie. Where were you, man? Okay, the real bad thing is that there's actually this spinning move in one of the levels. You can actually crush objects with this spinning move that the spin dash couldn't do. But since Sonic is spinning, the controls are just getting worse. There's actually a segment I have to go through in order to complete the level, and I need the spinning move on. But there's fire everywhere, and enemies and all that shit. And the game expects me to beat that with precision? Fuck no, dude. There are special stages in this game, and they really suck. Basically, you have to go to a certain area, but you have to go to it through a certain passage. And once you go through it, you'll find Tails or Knuckles. If you give them 50 rings, they will take you to the special stage. In the special stage, practically on rails and you move forward. You have to jump, avoid the spikes, and in the amount of rings that the game tells you to get. They're really boring. Seriously, sometimes the obstacles aren't even that hard to dodge. Sometimes they can be put in places where it's practically impossible to dodge, and you don't want to get hit or you'll lose some of your rings. But if you beat a special stage, you will get a Chaos Emerald.
It's kind of depressing how Sonic can go get a Chaos Emerald and I can't. Wait, Loaten, look over there! What? Dude, you have to get it, man. If Shadow catches me touching it again, he's gonna kill me. I'm gonna do this. Hey, Loaten, go there. Slowly.
Don't touch it!
Oh no, not again, I'm out of here!
Don't touch it! Don't touch it!
I'm Shadow the Hedgehog. This is who I am.
For the boss fights in this game, they're okay. They play like the old classic 2D bosses, so I really have no problems with them. And that's Sonic 3D Blast. Not really much to talk about. For Sonic's true first 3D adventure, I honestly don't think it's that well done. Sonic Adventure was a lot better than this. Believe me, I do have a bone to pick with Sonic Adventure, but it's a whole lot better than this shit. As good as the graphics are, it doesn't make up for the terrible gameplay that it is. Now, if you're like TJ Didio and you actually think the graphics can make this a good game, then go pick it up. But for people who are actually smart and not idiotic and actually pick around on the gameplay, then I cannot recommend this to anyone. I am Loaten Reviews. Thanks for watching.
Oh, it's the problem solver. Thank you for waking me up, buddy. Now get out of here before I kill you! Forgot that fucker's made of metal. Iron, I don't fucking know. I'm gonna have to use the old-fashioned way. Oh my god. It's Jack 4! 3!
So I have already done a review of the first two Jak games in the Jak series, though I do plan on revisiting my Jak 2 reviews sometime in the future, but that's for another time. Jak 3 for me is kind of a love-hate game. By that I mean the stuff I do like in the game I love, but the stuff I don't like in the game I hate. My opinions have changed many times throughout my playthrough of this game, but can I truly make a solid opinion on this game?
Well, we aren't gonna find out just standing here. Let's play this!
So the story of Jak 3 is that Jak has been banished from Haven City for doing some weird shit, I don't know, selling drugs with crew or some shit like that. Okay, really? Yeah, thought the dicks from Soliana and Isle Delfino were bad? Well, the people of Haven City are absolute pricks.
I saved you sorry fucks from Jak 2. I mean, what did I do to you?
So we die and come back to life, blah blah blah, let's play. So Jack plays pretty much the same way he did in Jak 1 and 2. You still have weapons from Jak 2, though you have to unlock them yet, which kinda sucks. What is different though is that the weapons can be upgraded, and believe me, you will need these upgrades because there are enemies everywhere in this game. Man, I thought getting the seal piece from the water slums from Jak 2 was bad with enemies, but here, good God, it's like a fucking war zone.
Well, it kind of is, actually. We meet again. I'm gonna have Hydro Gamer back as my name again, you fucker! Mommy!
In fact, one of the things I love to do in this game is just randomly start fighting enemies. In Jak 3, you get 3 different hub areas to explore. You have Spargus, Haven City, and the desert to travel around. And these hub areas are really fun to explore, except for the desert, which I will explain why later. With the added difficulty in enemy AI, I found most of the levels in Jak 3 to be quite difficult. Except, it was actually pretty fun and fair. I say fair because, like I said before, your weapons can be upgraded. You also get to play as Daxter, and he controls the same way he did in Jak 2 in the boulder chase segment.
Run away, you rats! Run!
Jak also has his returning Dark Jak feature, which can actually be switched on and off, making us able to save our Dark Jak energy. Along that, you can also use Light Jak, who has a different amount of abilities that you can use to your own advantage. The level design this time around is actually pretty good, a lot better than Jak 2 in my opinion. In Jak 2, you had more enemies to deal with rather than platforming. In Jak 3, platforming and enemy killing is equally balanced, making the Jak segments in this game a very fun experience.
Now, what I've said so far are the positives, but there are also some negatives. And dear God, there are very bad negatives.
Remember when earlier I said that the desert was not fun to explore in? Well, that is because you have to control in a car. You get it in Spargus, and oh my fucking god, never have I ever controlled something in the video game this bad before. I know games like CNK and Sonic Heroes had some pretty shitty controls, but with this game, god, the car controls so bad, it's blood puking awful. The physics are so fucked in the bread that I screamed nearly half the time of controlling it. And you know what? You have to do missions with it. Hell, you have to race someone in the beginning of the fucking game. What the holy fuck? Missions in a hole with this shit grinder vehicles is such a royal pain in the dick hole. I rage quit so many times in this game, and it was mainly because of these goddamn cars! It's a shame too, because the missions where you actually get to play as Jak are actually really good and probably the best in the whole series. The only fucking problem is that in order to get to these missions, you have to go for the hell of playing these shitfest of cars. The soundtrack in this game is all around okay. It's nothing too special, but it's nothing shitty either. The graphics this time also look really good. Spargus looks fucking beautiful, and everything else looks damn awesome. Jak 3 is one of those love-hate games. I certainly wouldn't consider it an average game. An average game is basically a game that isn't good, nor is it bad. Although in this case, the game is both good and bad. So, do I recommend Jak 3? Well, if you don't want to go for the hell of controlling these godforsaken vehicles, then I would recommend you to skip Jak 3. Though, if you want to get it for Jak's levels in particular, then go give it a try. But be warned, you will go through a lot of hell to get to those Jak levels.
Well, I think that is going to be it for this video. I'm Loaten Reviews. Thanks for watching. Now, I'm going to go try to find that water bottle again and see if I can get my username to be Hydro Gamer again.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Loaten Reviews, and welcome to this end slate. I think this is my first time narrating an end slate, so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do apologize for the people who have been waiting forever for a new review from me. I've been just dealing with a lot of shit in my real personal life, so I do apologize for that. I've been just busy with school, busy with Spearvin, and of course going through some depression. So yeah, I'm hoping to get better soon, and hopefully I'll be making some new reviews sooner or later, and then go for another hiatus, then make reviews again, then go for another hiatus, blah blah blah. You know the drill, or the cycle. I don't give two shits. So if you somehow hate me but like my videos for some reason, then you can go click the subscribe button right there. And if you already done that, why don't you go click right there to go see my Sonic Trilogy review, where I review the first 3 Sonic games. Oh no, how could I possibly forget? You can click there to go see my review of Banjo-Kazooie. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
So since I'm back from another hiatus, I have planned out what my next few reviews will be. I also want to make a big change on what I do for my reviews. I want to go back to my previous style where I did the balanced force of being comedic but mostly laying on the informative side, since you guys seem to like that a lot more than my newer review. As for my next review, I'm going to revisit a certain game, and then I'm going to be, trying to do a marathon. Now, a lot of you people know that I'm not really good at marathons, but, I haven't really planned out what I'm going to do for this marathon, but I'm going to be planning out what I will review for that marathon in particular. Now, with that out of the way, why don't we get on to this review? Today, we'll be reviewing Crash Bandicoot 5 to Insanity.
Crash Twisanity was developed by Traveler's Tales and was released in 2004 for the PS2 and Xbox.
So this game was created by the same people who did Sonic 3D Blast and Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. For, as many of you know, I do have a good experience with both of those games. So, with this game, will it actually turn out to be good? Will the developers actually take their time and effort to actually make this game good for once in their lives? Or are they just gonna keep smoking the 20 pounds of weed they kept hidden in their desks for the sole purpose of masturbation or developing games and making sure they're really good when in reality they're turning out really bad? Let's shut up and find out.
Let's begin with the story. Crash and Coco are relaxing on Insanity Island when suddenly Cortex shows up and ambushes Coco and dresses up like her. In the creepiest way possible. Then he decides to trick Crash into an ambush. It really boggles my mind, knowing the fact that Cortex just decides to straight up shoot Coco when she's not looking, yet he doesn't do the same to Crash. Look at him, he's digging in a hole. Why can't Cortex just shoot him and end it already? Isn't that what Cortex has been trying to do for all these years? Crash and Cortex fight when eventually Crash wins. Crash and Cortex then decide to replicate the hamster ball levels from Wrath of Cortex, except they're fighting over a cloud of dust, rather than a hamster ball, until they head back to the island. Crash and Cortex encounter the evil twins, who are 2 mutated parrots who come from a different dimension. The twins threaten to steal Cortex's brain, enslave Crash, and then destroy Insanity Island. Crash and Cortex must team up to go fight the evil twins for the fate of their lives and Insanity Island. The story is alright, it's more kid-friendly this time, as for the previous games had a tiny bit of a darker story. But with the story out of the way, let's get into the gameplay. So Crash controls pretty much the same way as he did in the previous Crash games, except with a few modifications here and there, such as a more powerful slide jump and tighter controls with jumping. These controls are well designed for the open world gameplay this game has. Oh, that brings up another thing. This game is a free roamer. Yep, you heard me right. Instead of moving in a linear path, you can now explore around in this huge open world. Yes, this game does have its linear moments, but the game is mainly open world. This is awesome. One of the things I loved in the Jak and Daxter games, specifically Jak 1 actually, were the controls. They were really nice and it was fun to use in the open worlds. Now put it in the aspect of Crash Bandicoot. The controls in Crash 2 and 3 were really great, and now with this open world in Twisanity, I can now express these controls a lot better, and it makes the experience
a lot more pleasant. By the way, Aku Aku is gonna tell us the obvious thing he's been doing since, wow, no, Crash fucking 1.
It is I, Aku Aku. My duty is to protect you. You may summon me by breaking open these crates. Call me thrice, and I shall grant you special powers.
Really? Let's see if you could protect me from those nitros over there. Fucking lying piece of shit, I hope you die in the fire! Yeah, Aku Aku does not do Jack and Daxter's shit. He protects you from enemies, but he doesn't protect you from nitros or TNT. Hell, if you get 3 Aku Akus, he just protects you from enemy damage. He still can't protect you from explosives, your speed doesn't increase, you can't kill enemies or destroy boxes by touching them, and the worst of all, there's no music for it. What's even worse is that in the beta version, Aku Aku could actually protect you from explosives.
What the fuck? Why would they remove that?
The bosses in this game are actually pretty bad. I mean, yeah, they are memorable, but they all feel easy and just boring. Speaking of difficulty, the game in a whole is pretty easy. The only parts that gave me any trouble were the walrus chase segment and the Dingodile boss fight. That's not to say the game is bad. I mean, this game is awesome. The levels are structured very well in this game. The environments and graphics look fucking awesome. I mean, just look at the details in these levels. These graphics and level design really inspire me as a game developer. Along with the level design, we also get a variety of different gameplay styles. Don't worry, these don't all come at once like in Wrath of Cortex. These gameplay styles come once or twice in the game. If you look at the back of the box, you can see all kinds of moves into Insanity, like Twin Slam, a Milliscape, Spank, Twin Throw, Roller Brawl, and what the fuck? Actually, there is an uncensored version of that picture, and it's actually a picture of Crash biting Cortex. And I'm not making this up. Look at this. Look at this! But anyway, you can use Cortex as your own tool. Most of these segments are actually pretty fun. At the same time, a little hilarious. There are also 2 other playable characters, Cortex himself and his niece Nina. They both control pretty well and they're also pretty fun. Though I didn't have much as a fun time as I did with Crash. One big issue I totally forgot to mention was that whatever character you play as, they get tired and start walking for no random fucking reason. Even if I'm pushing the stick all the way towards the direction I'm pointing it at, they can randomly walk for no reason. No, this isn't my controller. In fact, I got new controls specifically for this problem, and I still get it to this day. It may have something to do with my Player 1 slot on my PS2, because I have tried it on an emulator and hell, even on other PS2s, and it works just good on there. This never happens with any other games I play on. This has fucked me up so many times in this game. I have rage quit because of it. If you look at the footage a bit, and if you just see Crash or Cortex or Nina randomly walking, that's this glitch taking an effect. Oh wait, I mean, what the fuck ever. This game has some crappy replay value. Now, I don't really talk about replay value in most of my reviews because I'm not a completionist. But I have to mention it here. Basically, the replay value is collecting gems, and no, they aren't collected by breaking every box in a level, but in hidden, cheap, easy to spot areas, or just completing a cheap yet enjoyable puzzle. But only doing this will give you concept art and cut shit like that, which is okay if you're a nerdy gamer like me, but any average non-nerdy gamer won't find any enjoyment out of this. One more thing I should talk about in this game is the music. The music in this game is an interesting topic. The music is done in a cappella, which is pretty sweet and I like it, but it doesn't really have that Crash tint. Though it is a good soundtrack, and at the end of the day, that's what matters most. One last thing I should probably mention are the glitches. This game is really damn glitchy. It's not Sonic 06, but attempting these glitches are actually more easier to attempt than in Sonic 06. Twisanity glitches is a big topic. If there was a book listing all glitches in this game, you would need a book that's longer than the dictionary and the Bible combined. I'm not fucking kidding. Probably even longer than that. There are just so many to play around with, which is what I consider real replay value. If you have beaten the game, then I encourage you to go try to find out some glitches in this game. They're really fun to pull off, and it's pretty hilarious. And with that said, that is Crash Twisanity. And it is my favorite in the Crash series. You heard me right. This is my favorite Crash Bandicoot game. Aside from CTR, but that's a racing game, so I wouldn't really count that in. If you are a Crash fan, I do recommend you to play the original games first, but then head to this one. This is a game that you would not want to miss. I am Loaten Reviews. Thanks for watching. Alright, what game will I be reviewing today? God damn it. Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex was the second Crash game not developed by Naughty Dog. This time, it was developed by Traveler's Tales. This was one of the first games I had ever played, and I did make a review of it a while ago, but I didn't do a real good job at it. But since my opinion has slightly changed and I have gotten a lot better at reviewing games, I thought that I just had to revisit The Wrath of Cortex. So without further ado, let's begin with the plot. So Uka Uka is mad at the villains from Crash 3 for losing. Cortex suggests that they should get the help from 4 ancient masks known as the Elementals. Elementals? Originality! Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex! Basically, Cortex needs these masks to power up his super secret weapon, who is a Bandicoot named Crunch. So it is up to Crash and Coco to collect the crystals, take down the Elementals, and stop Cortex from achieving world domination. The story is alright, though I have a few problems. Aku Aku says that there are 4 elemental masks, and 5 crystals are needed to put one of them in their hibernation state, meaning that we should be able to get 20 crystals in order to complete the basic story mode. But, for some reason, in order to complete the any % story mode, you need 25 crystals to get to the final boss. Why do we need the extra 5 crystals? I guess it's probably used to go to Cortex's space station and beat the ever-living shit out of him for making the plan in the first place, but why do that? We already beat Dr. Cortex. Is it to set Crunch free from his mind control? It can't be that, since we don't realize Crunch is under the control of Dr. Cortex until the end of the game, where we get the 100% ending. Spoilers. Not to mention, in the final boss, we see all of the Elementals helping Crunch anyway. What the hell? This story makes less sense than Sonic 06! Hey, that's 2 things Traveler's Tales did worse than Sonic 06. Make a much easier to break game, and a stupid story. That makes less sense. I mean, don't get me wrong, the story in Sonic 06 was kind of idiotic, but ugh. The Elementals aren't even that interesting. They're practically the main villain, so you'd expect them to be threatening, right? Well, tough shit. You know those talking head cutscenes from Crash Warped? Well, those make a return, except it's with the Elementals and Cortex. But this time, they are more of a downgrade. Nothing these guys say are threatening or intimidating. They just look like loser wimps and sometimes just make stupid puns about the element. What's even more embarrassing is the fact that the voices of the Elementals are actually done by pretty good voice actors. Well, with the plot out of the way, let's get to the gameplay. Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex plays the exact same way as the previous Crash games. There are 5 warp rooms holding 5 crystals. Collect the 5 crystals and fight a boss to get to the next warp room. Beat all 5 warp rooms and the game ends. Crash plays the same way as he did in the original games, except the jumps feel strange. Okay, so you know how in the original Crash games you jump and once you rise to the apex of the jump you stop for a little bit and then fall back down? Well, in Wrath of Cortex, you jump and fall at the same speed. You don't stop for a little bit once you reach the apex.
This makes the platforming feel awkward, especially in the gem row in the tsunami level. The levels this time around are more vehicle based, which is a total pain in the dick. If you aren't playing as Crash or Coco, you are either playing one of the 1 million vehicle levels this game has to offer, and a vast majority of them are shit. But before I get into that, let's talk about Crash's levels. Crash's levels are okay, but compared to the original Crash games, these levels are incredibly bland. One of the reasons of this is the difficulty. The levels in this game where you just platform as Crash or Coco are really easy. The only difficult times you will ever have in this game is the difficulty of controlling these shitty vehicles, some of the bosses, or trying to complete it 100%. The levels where you just platform are pathetically easy. They aren't boring, but they are the definition of shit compared to Crash 2 and 3. The levels don't have a lot of variety of enemies or hazards. Sure, there are some levels that do that, like the Gauntlet, but most of the time, it's just a bunch of the same enemies and a shit ton of nitros planted everywhere. Look at the Death Route and Arctic Antics. It's just a shit ton of enemies and nitros. It seriously looks like the designers had a bunch of assets and dumped them all in the level without giving a shit. Why couldn't they just incorporate parts of the level to add challenge? Crash 2 and 3 did it right, so what's this game's excuse? And no, don't tell me that it was made by different developers. I don't care who the fuck made this game. If it's a Crash game that plays like the original games, then it better play as good or better.
It's so damn embarrassing to see a level filled with nothing but nitros and the developers expect us to have a difficult time with it.
These levels are the definition of lazy. As for the vehicle levels, well, there's a whole damn fuckload of them. So I'll just explain most of the major ones, but not the minor ones, because, well, there really isn't much to talk about when it comes to the minor ones. So I'll just start off with this plane. You know the plane levels from Crash 3, right? Well, it's the same here, except, well, instead of explaining what I have to say here in the script, I'll just let this bit of footage tell you what this fuckity fuck plane is like. Did I mention this is the second level in the game? Next up, we have the hamster ball. To be honest, unlike most people, I actually found these segments pretty enjoyable. The ball controls like an actual ball, and in some ways it kinda reminds me of Sonic, which is a good thing. I loved going fast down these pipe type things, but every time the ball moves, my controller goes so damn crazy.
Okay, controller, shut up. I know I'm rolling in a hamster ball, okay? Shut up.
But other than that, the hamster ball is okay. Then we get to the Jeep. There isn't really much for me to say about this one right now, but later we do return to the Jeep, and it does play in a different way. This Jeep moves forward, and you have to drive away from these angry-ass rhinoceros, including a baby one, and you know you've done something wrong if you've pissed off a baby. Fuck you if you did. Well, technically I did, so I'm practically saying fuck you to myself. Wow, I do really good logic, don't I, guys? Give me credit. Oh, fuck you. Fucking hell. I can see why they are angry. That Jeep looks beautiful. They don't want anyone taking it, especially if it's by an orange marsupial. But what I find ridiculous about this segment is that you have to press and hold A, if you're playing the Xbox version, to move faster. Why do I need to move faster when I'm already moving automatically forward? It's like having to press a button in order to move in one of those free-running temple run type games. I don't know, the Jeep isn't too bad, but it's nothing special. Now we are moving on to the underwater levels. They are just as bad as they were in Crash 3, except with like one improvement, which is the fact that it's a lot bigger, which Crash is able to swim better. Then the submarine comes, and before I make a poor Beatles joke like I did in my previous review, I have to say this calmly. This is the worst vehicle in the entire fucking game! I'm sorry, but good God. These levels are absolutely unplayable. For one thing, the sub is way too big, and the possibilities of you dying are so high up, you will very easily get killed by something you wouldn't even have time to react to. What the? Okay, now look at this bullshit. I don't want to play the actual level, so I stay on top of the level until eventually this tiny ass fish comes out of fuck knows where and kills me. Seriously, it's like Traveler's Tales is telling me, no, you have to play this level. We don't give two flying turds with wings if you don't like it. Assholes. Next vehicle is this flying type thing, and it only comes up once, and I know I said I was going to do most of the major vehicles, but I have to bring this one up. Basically, you have to destroy all these ships. To do that, you have to hold on to A to lock onto a target and let it go for a missile to be launched. The problem with this is that it takes 2 seconds to lock on. Now you may say, oh, you're just being impatient. Really? I haven't played a game where it has to take 2 seconds for me to lock onto something and then fire. Usually I would aim it to the thing I want to destroy, let it go, and then boom! It fires. Fast, easy, simple, fun. But in this case, it feels tedious as hell. Next thing isn't necessarily a vehicle, but something I forgot to mention while talking about the gameplay. But I'm not gonna go for the trouble of editing the script for the sake of talking about something gameplay wise. Trust me, this script is already long enough. But we see monkey bars, which is great. The monkey bars were fun to play through in Crash 2 and 3, so I'm ready for this.
It's awful. It's awful. Just why? Why?
I've already dealt with these shit vehicles, but slow-ass monkey bar climbing is where I draw the fucking line. It's so fucking tedious! Since when did Crash ever move that slow in Crash 2 and 3? Hell, he doesn't even move that slow in the GBA games, what the fuck? It's so tedious, it's so slow, and it's so boring. Next! So now we are back with the Jeep, except it's time we are gonna be doing a race. So I hated the racing levels in Crash 3. I think people who have seen my Let's Play of that game are aware of that.
Hey, turn. There's too many twists and turns. Slow down, level designers. It's like draw distance issues. I'm having what? That was so unfair. No. Guys, make my life easy here.
But honestly, I thought it couldn't get any worse than that. But I was wrong. This Jeep controls like bullshit and horseshit combined. The turns are much sloppier than before. And if you're in the middle of other cars, well, you are basically playing a game of fucking bumper cars. Thank God there's only one level of this type. Last vehicle we have is the mech. This controls like... Okay. I have pretty much said that a vast majority of these vehicles control like shit. Seriously, do I even need to say this controls like shit? It's big, the jumps are shit, the aiming is seriously retarded, especially in the 2D segments, and... Ugh! Okay, how does this game have a shit ton of vehicles, and a lot of them control like crap? This is ridiculous! Crash 3 had the same problems, but at least those vehicles were mildly enjoyable. This can only spell a disaster for the game.
Okay, I think it's about time for me to explain why I keep returning back to this game.
I'll be honest here, even though I'm being a complete asshole to this game, I found some of the levels in this game to be quite enjoyable. Notice how I say some. Yeah, the Crash and Coco ones may be easy, and the Nitros may look lazy, but it's a Crash game, and if it's a Crash game, then I will always have a soft spot for it, even if it's Titans or Mutants. The graphics are pretty good, and a lot of people say that it looks ugly, but I don't know. I found a lot of the graphics in this game that look pretty good. I like the new character models. They look more wacky and cartoony this time. For example, Cortex's head is ridiculously huge. The music is also fucking awesome. This time, the soundtrack is made by Blythe Hostra. I really hope I pronounced that right, by the way. Instead of Joss Mansell. Although Joss Mansell was pretty good at making music for the original Crash games, I think Blythe's work is a lot better. Seriously, this soundtrack is damn awesome. And though I don't like this game that much, I have to admit this is my favorite video game soundtrack next to Shadow the Hedgehog.
Okay, well, that was Wrath of Cortex, and it was something.
This game, like Sonic Heroes, has had many mixed opinions, so I wouldn't be surprised if I find a comment stating that I suck for not liking the game. Even though this game has some redeeming factors, the negative ones really do show, and in my opinion is a poor excuse for a Crash game. If you like this game, that's fine. I won't judge you for liking it. A game is supposed to make you have fun, and if Wrath of Cortex is fun to you, then go ahead and play it. I didn't really find a lot of enjoyment in this game, but hey, it's nowhere near as bad as games like No Rules Get Fat, Bubsy 3D, or CNK. I am Loaten Reviews. Thanks for watching.
Movie licensed games don't really get good reviews. I mean, some of them turn out to be really, really good, while others turn out to be poorly made. But I'm one of the people who has faith in movie licensed games. I mean, hell, one of them is my favorite game of all time, and also my favorite movie of all time. And for those of you who are curious, it's Spider-Man 2.
A while ago, I made a really poor review of another movie licensed game, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. I do plan to revisit this game sometime in the future, but we're not gonna do that right now. And plus, this game is a piece of shit, so. But today, we're gonna review another movie licensed game, which was the original Spider-Man movie for the Xbox. Is this game any good? Why not we put it in the Xbox and see?
So we hop into the first level, and one thing you're gonna notice right off the bat is that the voice acting is terrible. I mean, you listen to the characters talk, but they sound like that they either overreact or have no emotion whatsoever. Specifically with Tobey Maguire.
A different rooftop?
Yes.
Different from this one?
Yes.
Are you serious? Are you taking some kind of tour of city rooftops?
Yes.
Okay, whatever. I'll find your purse for you.
Thank you.
But of course, we need to talk about the game. The controls suck. I mean, seriously, this game had me fighting the camera so much. Sometimes I want to have it into a certain position, but it takes a long ass time, seeing how fucking slow it turns! Another thing is that the player is moving relative to the world rather than the camera, meaning that if I turn the camera while it's moving, Spidey just keeps moving in the same direction he was moving in before. It made me very hard to control Spider-Man in random situations like boss fights. I know there is a lock-on, but same applies. It also doesn't help when I'm trying to deal with a random amount of enemies. Say if I was fighting an enemy, and I just killed it, but there's another enemy behind me that was shooting from really far away. I have to turn Spidey around with the slow-ass turning camera, and I can't just lock onto that enemy, because what if there are other enemies around? It would lock onto a random enemy, but not the one I want to kill. This has happened too many times. Not to mention your health drains a lot when you get hurt. Enemies take a long ass time to kill. Now there are random different combos you can use to make combat a lot easier, but if there's a fuck ton of shooting enemies, it won't help. So I have to swing and use the mega web shoot attack thing to kill them, which can be hard to do considering the fact that I am swinging and that the camera is ass. Oh, and yes, your web is limited, But for the sake of not rage quitting, which I will have to say I did a lot while recording the footage, I used the cheat code to make my web unlimited. I do like the combat in this game. It's fun to use a lot of combos and different amounts of ways to take down enemy. It adds a lot of variety, although it doesn't excuse the fact that the camera fucking sucks! Some enemies can be very unfairly hard to kill. In fact, a lot of the missions in this game are fucking brutal. Like the boss fight with Shocker, for example. You begin running through a subway. Shocker will try doing a very OP blast from far away. You have to run into a different section of the tunnel to avoid him from making your ass bleed from this shit. Here's the thing, you move so damn slow, and he moves very fast. Look at this footage. He's shooting in another section immediately, right when I go into a different section, he's like, "Fuck you," and I get my bleeding ass handed to me.
And no, that's not the only mission. There are other shitty missions that are just as bad. Great!
Like this one with the giant ass robot. And no, I'm not kidding. He's a fucking ass robot. You have to destroy these motherfucking generators while being attacked by a fuck ton of robot holes and a giant ass laser that will take a giant fuckload of health from you. And what's worse is that there is no checkpoints. Same with the Shocker boss fight.
I have played a game that was very fucking brutal in difficulty. Jak 2. But at least that game was at least a little forgiving. This game is so unforgiving. Jak 2 at least gave me some checkpoints and health and shit, and I never died that fast, except for some levels, but this game's just so unforgiving. With a terrible camera, shitty missions, and other shit like that. What do you expect from this game? It sounds like I'm done here, but sadly I'm not done yet. Fuck. There's so much more that I need to explain. Great.
Even though there are a lot of problems, I do have some good things to say about this game. For one thing, I do love some of the boss fights. They are difficult, but not unfair difficult. They aren't by any means perfect, but they are pretty good. Like I said, I like the combat in this game. The only boss fight that I thought was very unfairly hard was the Mighty Hunter and Shocker. But that's all I can really think for bad boss fights. You can also play the whole game as Green Goblin, which I think is a lot better than Spider-Man. The music is pretty decent though, but for some reason in the Scorpion boss fight, I swear I hear a set piece from the Gulp boss fight from Spyro 2. I mean, listen to this music. The graphics are actually pretty good for an Xbox game, but like Jak and Daxter, the character models look poor.
And that's all I can pretty much say for positives. Well, let's wrap this up. Spider-Man is not very good. Sure, it has good combat. Sure, the bosses are fun. And sure, one half of the full game is good, which is the Green Goblin's gameplay. But it doesn't make up for all the other shit that this game has. Though, is it as bad as games like Crash Nitro Kart or Sonic Heroes? No, I'd rather be playing this game than other pieces of shit like that. And you know what? This game's sequel is a lot better. Hell, it's my favorite game of all time. I'm not joking. It's fucking awesome. Go buy it already!
He runs fast, you know shit. But Sonic the Hedgehog has had so many mixed opinions. One's from raging, oh my god, I love it! And one from raging, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and fuck you. Oh yeah, fuck you too. And you. And you! But I'm not the type of person who'll be like, hey, it's Sonic here! Yeah, you! Fuck off, will ya? But more or less a person who will just love it for what it is and respect other people's opinions. And you know what? I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I was never interested in the original Sonic trilogy. I know, flowing the hate. I remember playing a lot of Sonic 3, but barely Sonic 1 and 2. But some time ago, I just got a Sega Genesis emulator on this here PSP. I played Sonic 1, 2, and 3 with the Power of Save States. And you're probably being like, Loaten, why are you getting a fucking Genesis emulator on this here PSP when you already have the fucking Mega Collection for the PS2? Why? I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. Leave me alone. But today I am going to be playing the first 3 Sonic titles. That's right. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to review it for the PlayStation Double. Now, I was originally going to record this on an emulator because it's a lot higher quality, but for some odd fucking reason it skips every now and then. For a 2D game. Seriously, I don't get it. And I'm working on like a perfect computer. What the fuck am I waiting for? Let's review this thing.
So we're gonna start off with the first game in the series, Snorlax the Gorlick Hog. Yeah, you wave that finger, Sonic. So one main thing about Sonic the Hedgehog, which I guess pretty much every single one of you would probably know, is that he runs really fast. Which you'd probably expect the controls to suck anal, right? Right? Wrong. The controls here are really tight, and the speed is just awesome. The feeling of just going fast is actually a really great feeling. The thrills of going around— FUCK! That enemy hit me. Well, at least we have this little spin duck move thing. It really helps when it tries to kill enemies. We also collect these onion ring type things called rings. We don't eat them. Actually, there is a mod for that that's actually pretty hilarious. But they count as your stupid basic collectible thing. You collect 100 of them and you get a life. Except with these rings, they count as a form of health. Get hit, you lose all your rings. Get hit without rings, you die. There are 3 acts in each zone. At the end of the 3rd act, you get to fight the boss, which is Dr. Eggman.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Loaten Reviews, and welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Skylar. I'm your host, Skylar, or otherwise known as Loaten Reviews, and today we're going to teach you how to cook your very own Eggman. First of all, grab your frying pan and crack your Eggman and try to cook him. You can tell he's really hard to crack, so just do it as many times as possible.
Okay, in all seriousness, these boss fights are really nothing to be afraid of. They're so pathetically easy that they're really forgetful. The only boss fights I remember in this game was the Labyrinth Zone one, the Green Hill one, and the final boss. Which, the final boss is surprisingly the hardest boss fight in the game. Well, I guess it's kind of unsurprising since every final boss is the hardest. But every single boss fight in this game was so fucking easy to beat. Except for Labyrinth Zone. Fuck Labyrinth Zone. I hate Labyrinth Zone. Labyrinth Zone is cancer, is what I'm saying here. As for regular enemies, well, they're pretty easy to kill. You can either kill them with this weird spin slide thingamajig, or jump on their heads. Boop! Real simple, and they don't get too much in the way because, well, you're trying to run around at the speed of sound. Got places to go. I'm sorry, I got carried away. Also, if you collect 50 rings and you jump into the big ring at the end of the level, you'll go to a bonus stage. And oh, I have to put a little rant in this video. You have to get every single Chaos Emerald in order to get the good ending. And you know what? There are only some numbered of zones in this game. And you know what? I only missed one Chaos Emerald. One! And you want to know how pissed off I was when I found that Octorobotnik, or Eggman, was juggling one Chaos Emerald? Fuck it! As for a Sega Genesis game, the 16-bit graphics are really good. In fact, it's rather impressive for its time. Along that, and this is probably notable for every single Sonic game, except for Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, is that every single Sonic game has a good soundtrack. And this game is no exception. The songs in this game are really good. Honestly, I just love all of them. I think my favorite level theme in this game, and probably my favorite level in this game, would have to be Scrap Brain Zone. Just the awesome mechanical type background music it has, and it's just so awesome.
And that's Sonic 1. Now, is this game good? Yeah. Honestly, it's really good, especially for the time of its release. Good graphics, memorable gameplay, memorable levels, cheap boss fights, but that's not going to stop me from liking this game. But what about this game's sequel, the fan favorite? Hell, it's considered to be the best in the series. Hell, the most sold Sega Genesis game for the Sega Genesis. So, is this game as good as everyone says it is? Well,
Alright, Sonic 2. And the random ass fox dude. Yeah. Well, this is Sonic 2. Really? This is a fan favorite? Okay, before I start getting hate in the comments already, I just want to let you know I don't hate Sonic 2. I'm just kind of disappointed. I mean, think about it for a second. This game is a sequel and it's supposed to be improved. I don't see any improvements. It feels more or less a downgrade. I mean, you have this Tails guy following you around, which you can either play as him or play as Sonic alone, but really there's nothing here. You get the spin dash. Sonic has the same sprite as he did in Sonic 1, except the shade of blue is darker. The bosses are even weaker this time around, except for the final boss, which is bullshit. Seriously, the Death Egg robot has the weirdest ass collision detection ever. And the soundtrack, I mean, it's good, but it's not as good as Sonic 1's soundtrack. Except for the ending theme. I actually really like the ending theme. I don't get how this game is considered a fan favorite. I'm not shitting all over your opinion. I'm just asking, what do you guys see that I'm not? I honestly think that this is the weakest of the original trilogy. Like I said, I don't hate Sonic 2. I just think it's a big downgrade and a disappointment. So, I don't really hate Sonic 2. And I really have nothing else to say for this game. It's practically a modded version of Sonic 1 that costs money. Not really, but it's just a really weak game.
like I said, I don't hate Sonic 2. I just think it's a downgrade. I mean, the graphics are good, the gameplay is fun, the music is good, but that's all what this game is. It's a good game, but it's not a great game like Sonic 1. That's all I'm saying, guys. I don't hate Sonic 2. In fact, it's a really good game, but just a good game. Just a good game. Not a great game. So, I just want to make that clear before anyone just hates in the comments, because I know a lot of Sonic Extreme fanboys, like Extreme Sonic fanboys, are probably going to hate me for my opinion, but that's just what I think about Sonic 2. It's just a good game. Not a great game like Sonic 1. But what do I think about Sonic 3? Let's find out!
Alright, so me and Tails are flying to Angel Island, and I'm turning it super. Yeah! Oh, what the fuck? Hey! Wait, what are you taking my fucking Chaos Emeralds? Oh my god. No, you fucking won't. I just took those from Shadow. I just took them from Shadow! Alright, in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you get to play as 4 characters. Well, technically 3, but You get to play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, or Sonic with Tails following you like a fucking stalker. Sonic is basically the basic gameplay, except you get elemental shields, which grant you a little power-up type thing once you press the jump button twice. The bubble shield allows you to breathe underwater and also do this bounce type thing. The electric shield pulls in rings and allows you to do a double jump, and the fire shield protects you from fire hazards and does this fire shot thing. Hey, I had to come up with something. You can play as Tails, which he controls pretty much as he did in Sonic 2, except this time he can fly! Look, Mommy, I can still fly! Knuckles can glide and climb onto walls, but that's pretty much it. The soundtrack this time around, and oh my god, I love that! Seriously, all the songs in this game are just fucking ace. My favorite song in this game would probably be Hydro City Zone Act 2. Not because I used to be Hydro Gamer, but because of Along that, the bosses this time around actually felt challenging. I mean, all the bosses in this game were actually pretty fucking difficult. The final boss, where you get to play as Supersonic, was actually really difficult, and I loved it. Along that, the graphics have greatly improved. Sonic finally has a new sprite, and the environments feel alive. I also totally forgot to mention this in Sonic 2, but you can actually collect Chaos Emeralds. 7 of them this time, and they're all in special stages. The special stages in this game are fucking brutal. If it weren't for save states, I probably would never beat them. Call me a cheater, but I use save states. You can get the 7 Chaos Emeralds, and you can get the 7 Super Emeralds. The 7 Chaos Emeralds allow you to play as Supersonic, which is OP as fuck, but it decreases your ring counter, so collect rings in Sonic Supersonic will not run out. Hypersonic is basically Supersonic, but even more OP. Now, if you wanted to get the electric shield and play as Hypersonic, what, is the game really that hard to you?
So Sonic 3, amazing. Practically improved both of these two. Improved boss fights, improved music, improved everything pretty much. Actually, why am I putting on this? I'm actually putting on both of these two. Yeah, actually, Sonic 3 is a part 1 of Sonic 3. Sonic and Knuckles is actually a part 2 of Sonic 3. Luckily with the lock-on extension, or if you can actually unlock Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3 Knuckles with in this game, or the GameCube version, you can play Sonic 3 Knuckles, which is the true Sonic 3. Play that instead of these two separately, because this is the best of the trilogy, and probably the best of the series. Now, it's not my personal favorite, but what I consider the best game? Yes. My personal favorite? No. But these two games were good. Sonic 1 was great, Sonic 2 was good, and Sonic 3 was amazing. So what game was the best? Sonic 3. Great levels, great graphics, great music, great everything, just all collabed into one thing, making it an amazing game. A good runner-up would be Sonic 1. Nice gameplay, simple graphics, and an amazing soundtrack. And last and unfortunately least, Sonic 2. Good game though, it's really good. The graphics are simple, the gameplay is simple, and everything is just simple. Nothing bad. Weak bosses though. And I guess that'll have to wrap that up for this review. I am Loaten, and thanks for... That was the fakest cry I've ever had. god, it's 12,008 million o'clock. They're probably here by now. I have to go. They're here? Are they here? Oh. My god. It's here.
Wait, who's coming?
Listen. That's not the only one. Burrito, Bubsy 3D, and Knowles Get Fat, and Crash Bandicoot, they're all coming here too! What do we do?
I say you let them kick your ass.
That's a great idea, Burrito. We fight them off!
That's not...
It's alright, Burrito. We have a lot of weapons, thanks to our newest generation of technology.
This is amazing!
Alright, this is great. Let's do this. Okay, you know, why don't we just make a game review instead? So as many of you may or may not know, I love platformers. Well, at least in video games, not in real life. Ugh. Alright, you can do it. All you have to do is jump right on top of the bed. Yeah! Yay! No! Yeah.
So the platforming genre was something I really enjoyed when I was young, and I still do today, although the platforming genre has kinda died out. I mean, we have some new shit happening like Ukulele, the Crash Bandicoot remasters, and some others but it seems like all companies are trying to make the greatest FPS game of all time.
I'm talking to you, Activision!
But it all seems like nothing good comes out of gaming today. I mean, there are a few exceptions, but a lot of it just seems really shitty. Which is why I like playing games from the Xbox, PS2, and GameCube era for 3 reasons. Nostalgia, the fact that I have a far more enjoyable time with them, and the fact that I can't afford the new consoles.
But let me take you to a company of video games where platformers were just blowing up. You all know what I'm talking about.
Rareware. This company just blew up with all kinds of different games, and they were just totally kick-ass. Seriously, this company was like,
yo, you know what we doing, so fuck off and let us do our jig. Fuck.
And they sure as hell did know what they were doing, and a lot of the games were considered awesome, and I honestly love some of the games they have made. I haven't played all of them, but I've played a fair share of them. But one game really sticks out. Tell me, what do you think when you say the name Rareware? No, not Donkey Kong Country. No, not Conker's Bad Fur Day. No, not Diddy Kong Okay, I'm talking about Banjo-Kazooie. Jesus Christ.
And you know what? We're gonna review Banjo-Kazooie for the Xbox 360. Even though the footage I recorded was with an N64 emulator. What the fuck ever, let's review this!
The story of Banjo-Kazooie is that Gruntilda the witch bitch wants to be the new sexy girl of the city, but her dingpot says that the honor was given to a little bear named Tootie. So witch bitch decides to kidnap Tootie and steal her beauty. What the fuck, that rhymed. And it's time to get Tootie's lazy ass brother Banjo and stupid ass sidekick Kazooie to rescue her. Banjo-Kazooie is a collectathon 3D platformer. You collect some shit to get some other shit, blah blah blah. If you saw my review of Jak and Daxter, then you know what I'm talking about. The formula of Banjo-Kazooie is really interesting. You collect jiggies to unlock new levels, but you collect notes to progress through the game. What's kinda weird is that the jiggies are like the hidden collectible, while notes are like the collectible you see along the main path. You travel through Drunk Tilda's lair throughout the game. Basically, this is your main hub world. There are incomplete jigsaw puzzles that need to be filled up with the jiggies you collect. Once the puzzle is completed, you unlock a new level. Jiggies can be collected by doing many things. This is where the game really shines. The game encourages you to explore around these worlds to find puzzles, tasks, or other things to obtain jiggies. Finding this shit is actually really fun. Too bad it's a pain in real life though.
Ah, where's my copy of Super Mario Land 2? It's gotta be here somewhere. Where the fuck is it?
Grunty's lair has locked doors, and well, this is where the notes come in. Notes are just random basic objects found throughout each level. Once you collect enough of them, the door will open.
You know, why can't Banjo just sing to open the door open? Because, you know, singing spawns notes, right? It works for me. Well, in the wrong way. It's unlocked.
Mumbo tokens can be found in hidden areas throughout the game. They are used to bring to the shaman named Mumbo, who can change you into random objects or creatures that can be used for some areas throughout the game. Jinjos are lost creatures. There are 5 of them in each level. When you collect all 5, you earn a Jiggy.
Whoa, wait. That's a lot of collectibles.
I think it would be a good time to discuss Banjo's controls. Banjo controls pretty well, but I only have one problem with him. He runs too damn slow! Seriously, with these huge open worlds to explore, how in the hell do you expect me to go through it with this slow-ass bear with a fucking chicken bird in his backpack? Yeah, I know there is a move to make Banjo faster, but it's the equivalent of pressing a button in order to fucking move. Other than that, the controls work just fine. There are some extra moves you can get in the game. Some moves need power-ups in order for them to work. You need eggs to use as for projectiles, and you need feathers to fly.
Look, Mommy, I can.
Alright, we get it! The bosses in this game are so weak. There is practically no challenge, and you can probably beat them under 20 seconds unless you suck at the game like me. The only boss fight in this game that was really good and difficult was the final boss with Gruntilda. For an N64 game, these graphics look really good. They're vibrant and pretty. If I had to state the difference between the N64 version and the 360 version, the only difference is that the 360 version has improved 2D sprites and better draw distance, but that's really it. One more thing I have to say about this game is its soundtrack. And honestly, guys, I found this game's soundtrack annoying. I mean, the songs were good, but a lot of them were really short and repetitive. And hell, some themes weren't even catchy, which made it even more annoying. Though, that's not to say they're all bad. Some themes are actually really good, like the final boss theme.
And well, that's all I can say for Banjo-Kazooie. And it's okay. It's a game that you'll enjoy for the first time, but not find yourself coming back to very often. Well, I'm Loaten Reviews, and I'm out of here. Loaten, wait! Let's just hack Banjo-Kazooie.
If you are one of those average gamers, you probably look at games like Mega Man, Sonic, Mario, Crash, Zelda, etc. Although there's always going to be one of those games that turn out to be amazing yet its popularity is rather low. Or in short, a hidden gem. The Attack series is one of those games. Developed by Avalanche Software, the Attack series began back in 2004 with many sequels to come, along with a TV show being promised. But later in 2005, Disney bought the rights to Avalanche Software to develop Disney-related games, causing them to quit developing TAC games. Except TAC 3, they still had a contract to finish that. But since the TV show's cancellation, the TAC series has been long since dead, and not a lot of fans nowadays seem interested in the series. Well, I have decided to make a review marathon of the TAC games. But I changed my mind, and I will just be reviewing TAC 1 for now. I'll get on to other games like TAC 2 and revisit TAC 3 sometime later, and of course with the TV show license games. But for now, here's my review of TAC and the Power of Juju for the PS2 and the Nintendo GameCube. Yes, I own both versions, but the footage you are going to be seeing is recorded with a PS2. Let's begin with the review. Now, I would normally start out by giving the game's story, but TAC and the Power of Juju has a lot of plot twists, and I don't want to do a complete plot summary about it. So, I would like for you people to play the game and experience the story for yourself. It's best explained that way. TAC and the Power of Juju is separated into 3 segments. You have the Nubu Plant segment, the Yorble segment, and the Moonstone segment. Each segment has you adventuring to find said items in each segment. TAC controls pretty darn well. You have 2 weapons throughout the game, the staff and the sticks of beating the shit out of enemies. Or in short, the club and spirit rattle. The spirit rattle is your basic beating the ever living fuck out of enemies weapon, along with giving you the ability to cast different spells. The staff can also hurt enemies, but you can shoot animals for your own use. Along that, you can pole vault to higher ledges, since it's a staff, a really long one at that. One of this game's key features is animal manipulation. Some parts in the game need you to use animals to get to certain areas on the game. This concept is actually really cool and the execution is done rather well. There are a lot of puzzles in this game that use animal manipulation, and some of them are quite difficult, but that's what's fun about them. The levels in this game are huge. Exploring them can be incredibly fun. My favorite segment in this game is the Yorble segment, because it's like a collectathon but no side quests. Just getting to certain areas in the game by solving puzzles and being an explorer is incredibly rewarding and really fun. Although I do have an issue with this game, and that would have to be its soundtrack. Don't get me wrong, the soundtrack of this game is actually really good, but it's way too overplayed. The main melodies are really short and they repeat themselves too much. One thing I loved about the Sonic games soundtracks were that they had one melody, then switch into a different one, but still fit into the main melody, then would have an ending melody. But with TAC, it stays with one melody throughout the whole song, and it can get very annoying, considering the fact that you'll be staying in these levels for a long time. Along with that, the songs really feel out of place. The music is really calm and peaceful, which is nice, but this game feels like it should be upbeat like the Chicken Island level, even though that song kinda sucks too. This is music I would be listening to while working on homework or on a project, not while playing a video game. Aesthetically, this game looks dull. Everything looks the same, and sometimes I even get lost in a level because nothing sticks out to me. The graphics are good, but the aesthetics look really boring, to be honest. While there are levels in this game I like, there are levels that I fucking despise! Take Chicken Island for example. I didn't record my own footage for Chicken Island, so just deal with whatever the fuck I added in for that. Chicken Island brings us a new gameplay element, the chicken suit. The chicken suit lets TAC glide, shoot eggs from his ass, and run faster than his normal speed. So the chicken suit doesn't sound that bad, right? Here's the problem. The chicken suit can't afford to get wet, so you have to glide to platforms to get there. Here's the problem. The platforms are very far away, and of course because of that, TAC's glide is very fucking slow. It takes forever to get from platform to platform. I shit you not that this is the most tedious thing I have ever witnessed in a video game by far. I'd rather be sitting through the load times from the 3 Soul Yonic challenges to get to the Kingdom Valley level in Sonic's Story of Sonic 06. God, that was a lot to say. Then we add the Chicken Temple. Oh, good God. This is an incredibly unfair level. I seriously think level is impossible to do without the Crazy Feet spell, because this level is about stealth. And I'll be real here, no offense to any Metal Gear fans or any stealth genre fans out there, but I fucking hate stealth games that are really fucking slow, and I'd rather have something to do than having to wait for a guard to pass by to continue. But in this level, you have to grab these eggs, and then bring them back to the middle part of the level to continue. Problem here is that the chickens get pissed off if you take the eggs, and those feet better become Sonic the Hedgehog, because oh my god, you will not outrun those little fuckers. This one part in the level made me rage quit and used a cheat code just to get to the final boss, because I could no longer deal with this horse shit. You have to open a door which has a time limit, and if it runs out, the door will shut. Then you have to run in the door, grab the egg, and get out. But I swear the timer's just too damn short. And like I said, if you run and the chickens see you, they will fucking kamikaze you. I tried forever, and right as I got through the door finally to get hit with a chicken and lose my egg, I said, fuck it, and used a cheat code. Seriously, fuck the Chicken Temple, man. Just fuck. But that's all I really have to say for TAC 1. It's the first game in the series, and damn does it sure feel like it. The TAC series in general is one hell of a hidden gem because it's incredibly unique. And honestly, I would definitely recommend it to you guys if you are a fan of platformers. But not the TV show licensed ones. Fuck that. So for those of you who don't know, I love Sonic the Hedgehog. The games have always been a treat to play. I'm not a fanboy, but I love almost all the games. Yes, including 2006. I do have my fair share of Sonic games that I hate, but I don't hate every game. A while back I did a review of the first 3 Sonic games in a lame comedic style, even though Eggman's torture scene, to be honest, makes me chuckle every now and then. So years later, after the release of Sonic 3, we got Sonic 4, Episode 1. Now, I wanted to tell a little story. I first had this game on the Xbox 360, but later that got lost. But a few months ago, I bought the game again on Steam, and well, here's my review of Sonic 4, Episode 1. Sonic 4 Episode 1 plays almost the exact same way as the classics did. I say almost because the physics in this game are awkward as fuck and doesn't even feel like a Sonic game. Sonic has absolutely no momentum at all. By letting go of the control stick, or in my case the forward key, Sonic will come to a complete stop. I know this problem was visible in Sonic 2006, but that was a 3D Sonic game, and it was really easy to get used to, especially after the games before 2006. Sonic Heroes had controls that were way too slippery, and it was really easy to fuck up. In Shadow the Hedgehog, well, the controls weren't exactly bad or irritating, it just felt awkward maneuvering Shadow around the levels. That was okay since that game was more oriented around combat and exploration rather than speed. So I was okay with 2006 having these types of controls. But with a 2D game, especially one that's supposed to be a sequel to 3 games that had great controls, it's a completely different ballgame. The fact that fucking walking is easier to get up a slope rather than spin dashing goes to show how terrible these physics are. When I play Sonic 3, I feel fast. When I jump during a spin dash, I send Sonic fucking flying, which actually made me feel like I was going really fast. When Sonic jumps out of a spin dash in this game, he just stops immediately, like what the fuck? Oh, and does something look familiar to you? Just take a look at some of these levels. If you guys haven't spotted yet, well, let me explain here. This game, like Crash Nitro Kart, borrows aesthetics from the other 2D Sonic games. Guys, this is a fucking sequel! Give me some new levels to play, not this! But that doesn't stop the game from looking great. The levels in this game look gorgeous. Even though most of them are just high resolution 2D images, they still look badass. The background's just, oh, it's so beautiful. I just can't get enough of the background scenery in Lost Labyrinth. Oh, and by the way, why does Eggman use his old boss fights? Like, where's the originality here? I know, up their asses! Just because the levels look good doesn't excuse the fact that reusing level aesthetics and bosses is bullshit. The level design itself is pretty bad, to be honest. I raged so fucking much in the Casino Night copy zone thing. Instead of running around at the speed of sound, it's full of... hold on, just wait for it. Platforming! I don't want a platform, I want to dash through these levels like a fucking badass. It's a Sonic game, for Christ's sakes. Well, the Casino Night Zone is really generous with lives, but it doesn't excuse the fact that these godforsaken platforming segments are garbage. Sonic the Hedgehog is supposed to be a game that tests your reactions while going really fast. The different colors and enemies tell you when to react. When you see a red robot, okay, just jump over it or kill it. You see a spring, okay, then slow down a bit and jump on top of it. Now the platforming segments, and by that I mean like segments where you platform with bottomless pits, are hardly in a Sonic game because it wants to be a full stretch, since the feel of a Sonic game is to have wide open space to run around in. Not a fuckload of platforms in bottomless pits. That shit belongs in Mario games. Now there are those rare moments where there are bottomless pits in a Sonic game, but like I said, those are rare moments. The levels can really overstay their welcome. Look at this, it took me 9 minutes to beat the third act in the Casino Night Zone. Fuck! Oh, and the special stages are a fucking nightmare. Instead of navigating Sonic through the rotating stage, you have to rotate the stage to move Sonic to the goal ring, but the levels don't feel designed to compensate. There are a shitload of bumpers, and you are being timed. You may say this may add challenge, but I had a hard time with the first fucking special stage. The first one out of all of them should be the easiest. I didn't even want to finish this game, which is the reason why you don't see any footage of Mad Gear Zone. You may say that in order to have an opinion, you need to play through the whole game, but no. There are only 4 zones in this game, and just because I didn't play one of them, doesn't mean I already have an idea of what the game really is. And even if Mad Gear Zone was a good zone, it doesn't fix the rest of the issues the game already fucking has. Let me put it like this. Say that you have a shitty phone but had a badass next-gen high-quality camera. Regardless of how good the quality on the camera is, it's not gonna make the phone a good phone. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is a mediocre game. While it has some badass aesthetics and music, the gameplay is incredibly boring and it doesn't even feel like a Sonic game. Although the game is really short, so it doesn't really bother me that much. That's why I call it mediocre. I know there's a second episode, but I'll cover that another time. Or probably not, because I heard it's almost exactly like this game, but with new levels and tails. So I'm just gonna make the blind assumption that it's a mediocre game like this. If you're new to the series and looking for a 2D Sonic game to play, then I wouldn't recommend Sonic 4 Episode 1. I would instead recommend the original Trilogy because those are the best in my opinion. Well, join me next time as I do a review marathon of revisiting games. I am Loaten Reviews, signing off. Tak 3 was the first Tak game I ever played. I was a little kid when I played it, so I didn't have a whole lot to say, but I will say that it was the game that got me into the Tak series. A while back I did do a review of this game, but it was poorly made, so I'm gonna revisit it. And yes, There are other reviews that I'm going to revisit, and in the next few videos I will do so in my revisit and marathon type thing. So I am Loaten, and today we are going to review Tak and the Great Juju Challenge. Tak 3 was the last Tak game developed by Avalanche Software. It was going to be the third installment in the series before the TV show, but sadly during Tak 3's development, Disney bought the rights of Avalanche Software, thus leaving the Tak series for good. Luckily though, they were able to finish Tak 3, but in a limited time since they had to work for Disney. You heard me right. Tak 3 almost got cancelled, and yes, it was a rushed game. Luckily, the glitches in this game aren't game-breaking, but they aren't that hard to pull off. But let's talk about the game. Tak and the Great Juju Challenge has team-based gameplay. Now, is it gonna be poor like Sonic Heroes, or are we in for a little treat? Well, let's find out. The story of Tak 3 is about the Great Juju Challenge. The Great Juju Challenge starts every 60 years, and now it is starting again. And whoever wins it gets the honor and favor of the Moon Juju for the next 60 years, or until the next Great Juju Challenge. Tak and Locke are competing for the Team Pupanunu, and they seem to be missing. We later see that Locke is about to commit suicide. Wait. What?
So, this is how it all ends. The lock can't go on no more. Bye-bye, sweet world. Magnificent! What an incredible feeling!
Being completely honest, that's kind of a sick joke. But other than that, Tak and Locke pretty much compete in the Great Juju Challenge, and yeah. So let's get into the gameplay. Tak and Locke control pretty much the same way as they did in Tak 2, which is good. Tak and Locke both play different from each other. They both have their own strengths and weaknesses. For example, Tak can swim in water, but Locke can't. Locke can climb up vines, but Tak can't. And of course, many others. Tak and Locke feel like they play the same, but their abilities separate themselves from one another, making the game feel active and alive. I don't know how to put it. The levels are designed really well. In each level, you have to light up torches to progress. Torches can be found either just by finding them, or they can appear after beating a number of enemies. They can also give you a time bonus. More on that later. Due to this game being rushed, they had to reuse some assets from Tak 1 and 2. But as long as it fits well in the levels, then no major harm done. Besides, it did not stop me from liking the game. This game is team-based, and like I said, Tak and Locke both have their own strengths and weaknesses, making each level have certain segments for you to pick one of the two players for said segments. Sonic Heroes tried doing this, but it was poorly executed. In Tak 3, the team-based gameplay does work. The goal in each level is to complete the level with a really high score. You will need high scores to have a higher advantage of winning the Proving Ground arenas. More on those later. How do you get a high score, you may ask? Well, there's items to collect, enemies to kill, and others. But the main gimmick is the time limit. In each level, you are given a set time to complete the level. You have to try to complete the level with a really high time. Smoke weed every day! Your time will increase by collecting hourglasses, lighting torches, and going through portals. The more time you have left by the end of the level, the higher your score for that level will be. If you lose all of the time in the level, you won't lose, but you will lose the time bonus. In each level, there are recipes for blessing gems. Recipes can either be found in random locations of each level, or completing a side quest, which is basically a small puzzle, which is for the most part enjoyable. In Tak 2, the recipes were used to unlock content for the mini-games, or as they are called in Tak 2, the dinky games. Here, the recipes are used to obtain blessing gems. Blessing gems can be used to upgrade Tak and Locke. You can upgrade their mana, health, and attack. Of course, you will need certain ingredients for the recipe for the blessing gems. The attack upgrade is really overpowered when set to max. You can kill basic enemies with one blow along with having a long range attack, but upgrading Locke to max? Oh boy. Locke is incredibly OP when set to max. You have to unlock the Mighty Hammer in order to upgrade Locke to max, but once you do, you can practically kill almost any enemy in one blow. Even the scorpion rockers that require you to hit them from behind can be killed in one hit from any angle. The higher your upgrades are, the higher your advantage is for getting a high score on a level. After almost each level, you are granted a new Juju spell for both Tak and Locke that can be used to their own advantage. And they don't feel gimmicky. Code Lyoko Quest for Infinity. Code Lyoko Quest for Infinity. I'm sorry. No, the power-ups actually feel useful in some moments, and for you to use when you want, not for specific parts in the game. After completing all the levels in the Warp Zone, or whatever the fuck they're called, you unlock the Proving Grounds level. The Proving Grounds level is basically a game of bumper cars, and it is fun as fuck. The goal is to get a high score. You can get points by killing enemies, collecting bonus points, or just running the fuck into other cars. There are different types of cars that serve different advantages, such as speed, defense, damage, and all advantages being balanced into one car. It feels like a nice break from Tak and Locke's gameplay, like what the vehicle levels did in Crash 2. These segments are incredibly enjoyable. It feels fast, intense, and good lord, the music is just perfect. In fact, that's one of this game's biggest strengths. This game has the best soundtrack in the Tak series, period. All of the game's music matches each of the levels' personality near perfectly. The calm, peaceful music for Silverstone, the upbeat adventure music for Caster's Hill. And good god, this is just amazing. Remember in my Tak 1 review that I said that the electric guitar was my favorite part of the soundtrack? Well, they pulled it off in this game and did it so well, making it one of my favorite, well, not my absolute favorite, but one of my favorite video game soundtracks. We interrupt this review of me rage quitting like a dumbass on not reading this line correctly in the fucking script. This game has the best soundtrack in the Tak series, period. All of the music in this game matches each of the levels' personality. Why can't I fuck? Oh, I hate that line. Why? This game has the best soundtrack in the Tak series, period. All of the music matches each of the fuck. Oh my god. I'm getting sick and tired of this shit. Tak 3 is an amazing game. For being the last Tak game developed by Avalanche and for being rushed, this game was amazing. If Avalanche was given more time to develop this game, I would have loved to see how this game would have looked if it weren't rushed. This game is one of my favorite games of all time, just for how different and for how well it did. I definitely recommend this game, especially for speedrunners, because goddamn, this game is really fun to speedrun. I give Tak and the Great Juju Challenge a 9 out of 10. Well, that wraps up this revisit. Join me next time as I revisit the 2 Crash Bandicoot Game Boy Advance titles. The gameplay footage you see in this video of Crash Bandicoot The Huge Adventure and Crash Bandicoot 2 in Trance is owned by Spectre227. The channel link will be in the description below. So after Traveler's Tales released the amazing Wrath of Cortex, yeah, I didn't think that game was very good, Vicarious Visions was given the role to make the next few Crash titles, and they were on the Game Boy. Well, now I want to make this small little note before talking about these games. I don't hate Crash games that are in 2D. Yes, it's a little bizarre to me since Crash Bandicoot was originally supposed to take the 2D elements of the Mario games and put them into a 3D environment. And me being a die-hard Crash Bandicoot fan, I'd rather be putting my time into the 3D Crash titles rather than the 2D ones. Not to mention, I really want something new to come out of Crash Bandicoot, which I know the Insane Trilogy is coming out, which I plan to get. But since there hasn't been anything Crash related that's playable other than the Skylanders level, which wasn't the greatest thing ever, I've been trying to rely on fan games. And good fan games are rare. A lot of the fan games are 2D, and most of the fan games that are 3D are using the NOS Games Crash Bandicoot assets, which aren't bad, but they're so overused that it's cliche. Not to mention, since the vast majority of them are new game developers, and because of that, the levels turn out to be really poor. This is why I stick to fan games like Crystal's Wrath and Crystal's Light, since they actually make something that aren't using Crash assets. Oh, okay. What I'm trying to say is, I don't hate 2D Crash games, fan-made or not. I just find it old and cliche. I'd rather be playing a 3D Crash game rather than a 2D Crash game, because Crash Bandicoot was mainly supposed to be 3D. Am I right? But I guess if you're making a game on the Game Boy, you don't really have a lot of choices when it comes to the limitations. Look at the GBA port of Pac-Man World. They had to cut the levels from the Pipe World and had only one song play in each world you were in. They had to do a lot of things to bypass the limitations for the GBA port of that game. But then again, I still loved it and even preferred it over its PS1 counterpart. So can Crash Bandicoot The Huge Adventure and Crash Bandicoot 2 in Trance top the classic PS1 games? Probably not, since they're fucking 2D games. Let's start off with The Huge Adventure, which I will refer to as its European name, Crash Bandicoot XS, since it's much easier to say and I am more used to it. The story is that Dr. Cortex has made a new machine known as the Planet Minimizer, which is used to turn the Earth into the size of a grapefruit. Which, I don't know about you, but that looks more of the size of a golf ball than a grapefruit, but whatever. Aku Aku discovers this and tells Crash to retrieve 20 crystals to reverse Cortex's evil doings. Hey Aku, what the hell happened to your feather and goatee? Oh, there they are in the next scene. What the fuck? So Crash Bandicoot XS plays almost the same way as the classic 3D games did, with only one big change. The levels aren't in 2D, so did Crash's jump into the second dimension work out? Well, let's talk about that. The levels in this game are simple. In fact, a little too simple. All these levels feel bland and boring. They all feel like they'd be the first level in the game. When you play the first level in a video game, it feels enjoyable since it's an easy little kickstart for the rest of the game. It's gonna be easy and it's gonna be basic so you can get a sensible idea of what the game will be like. Once you are done with the first level, the game progresses to get more difficult and you get more used to the game. In Crash XS, it feels like a big step backwards. Almost all the levels feel incredibly basic and bland. You know the levels from Wrath of Cortex? Well, the platforming ones to be specific. It's kind of like that, but much worse since it's in 2D. Most of the levels can be downright irritating, mostly because of two things: poor design, and the fact that the fucking screen isn't zoomed out far enough. A lot of my deaths in this game felt cheap, mainly because of these issues. Oh, and you guys love leaps of faiths, right? Well, they're everywhere. And you all know, leaps of faith can lead to two things happening. You getting a sigh of relief knowing that you actually made the jump, or you screaming like Jesse Ridgway knowing that you did fucking make it! And yeah, this game is also poorly designed. The controls feel really weird. An example of this would be Crash's spin resistance. You can only hit 1 or 2 if you're lucky crates at a time. This makes getting gems feel incredibly tedious to deal with. Another thing that irritated me a lot was the fact that slide jumping does not activate near ledges, which really sucks because I'm used to doing these types of jumps in other Crash games. I could slide jump near an edge then, so why not here? The bonus stages in this game are shit. The bonus stages in the classic games are nice little breaks from the level. If you were stressed out from the level, the bonus stage would be a little break. You would be rewarded with boxes and many other things. They did add some challenge, but that was only to keep you feeling pumped for when you got back to the main level. Bonus stages made you feel rebooted and encouraged to go back to the main level. While the bonus stages in excess are the exact opposite. They are full of beginner's traps. And god damn is this irritating. Did the developers honestly think that, maybe if we made the players think before taking action, they might actually like it? No! Hell no! The bonus stages feel like a downgraded versions of the side quests from Tag 3. They're basically crate puzzles. So with horrible bonus stages, the screen not being zoomed out far enough, leaps of faith, and the fact that you can only spin 2 crates at a time, this could only spell hell for the gems and relics. And yeah, you heard me right. There are relics in this game. Now, I heard people bash on the time trials in Crash Warped, but here, I'd rather be watching a full episode of Boku no Pico than trying to accomplish the task of getting these godforsaken relics. I swear, they suck so much! The issues I had with the gems, aside from the bonus stages, are present in the time trials, but they're even worse here since you have to race against time. And remember, if you die in a time trial, you have to start at the beginning of the level. In terms of visuals, this game looks incredibly bland. Some of the assets are just rendered animation frames of the PS1 models, but mix that with basic hand-drawn assets like the crates and backdrops, and it looks downright out of place. Some parts of certain levels actually look really nice, like the polar chase segments in the snow levels, because aside from Aku Aku, everything looks like it's from a PS1 game. But the 2D backdrops look fake and lifeless. It's hard to explain. I think the best way I can explain it is that it feels like that Crash and the other assets are in front of a green screen rendering a picture depending on what level you're on. And with this being a Crash Bandicoot game, there are vehicles. There are only 3, well technically 4 with the space motorcycle thing if you are doing 100% run, but I'll be damned if anyone did that. We have the polar chase, the rocket levels, and the water levels. And I'll be honest, they aren't that bad. They control well enough and they don't irritate me as much as the rest of the game did. If there's anything positive I would say about this game, would be its soundtrack. I love Crash XS's soundtrack. It fits well with the levels, and I don't know, but I always get a hit of nostalgia whenever I listen to it. The bosses in this game, no. Just no. Saying that they suck is like saying that they're good. To put it like this, imagine Crash 2's final boss, but the difficulty would be the same for all the bosses in this game. That is Crash Bandicoot XS's bosses in a nutshell. Well, Crash Bandicoot XS is a poor game. I'm not gonna cut this game any slack since it was the first of its kind. It could have been a good game. I think this game had a lot of potential, but instead of being good as a video game, it's more of a good time killer. As a game compared to other Crash games, it doesn't stick out to me, just for how boring and aggravating this game was. Yeah, I did say I thought it was average in my first review, but damn, what a big fucking idiot I was. I may have said that just because I thought this game was a bit underrated and I wanted to shine some light on it, but it's just not a very good game. For that, I give Crash Bandicoot XS / The Huge Adventure a 3 out of 10. So after Crash Bandicoot XS was released, Vicarious Visions decided to create another 2D Crash Bandicoot Game Boy game,
but it would serve as a sequel to Crash Bandicoot XS. Is it any good? Well, let's find out.
So the story of Crash Bandicoot Entranced takes place after XS. Uka Uka has hired Entropy to help him with a new plan to defeat Crash and achieve world domination. Even though he kinda already did in the last game, but Crash reversed his mistake, so what the hell is he even doing? Entropy has built a machine/minion to use for this plan, named Entranced. Entranced has the ability to hypnotize other people. Entropy ends up capturing Crunch and Coco. Entropy attempts to kidnap Crash but fails and ends up getting a fake Crash. Somehow. Then Entranced mind controls the Bandicoots. Aku Aku was able to tell it was the power of Entropy and decides to go to this mysterious ancient place. Or aka the map. Oh wait, no, that's Skylanders. No, this is just a map. Okay, allow me to rant and bitch for a second. Number 1, how the fuck was Aku Aku able to tell that this is the work of Entropy? I understand you're a magical tiki mask who lacks any sort of fucking limb whatsoever, but the fact that you were able to pull out Crash somehow and be like, maybe this is just Entropy's shit, boggles the hell out of my mind. It could have been anyone for all we know. Why would Entropy be the one to pop into your head first rather than Cortex? And number 2, how in the actual fuck was fake Crash, of all things, to be pulled out of that portal? He was just an Easter egg in previous games, and now you're just gonna throw him into the story? If so, then where the hell did he come from? It would have been better if we got a little more closure of fake Crash's origins. That could have made the story a lot better if you asked me. Number 3, how are you not able to tell that that is not the real Crash Bandicoot? They only find out conveniently right after the boss fight with fake Crash. Entropy, you can build a time machine and build an egg who can not only hypnotize but can also turn into a fucking rocket, but you can't tell between a fake Crash and a real Crash? No. Number 4, Crunch and Coco aren't tied up. There are no guns to their heads. They're just standing there. Do something. You're getting kidnapped, you hopeless fucks. Then again, Coco does look pretty happy that she's kidnapped and being hypnotized right now. Also, I love how Vicarious Visions thought it would be a good idea to have the low poly PS1 Coco model right next to the updated PS2 Wrath of Cortex Crunch model. It makes a lot, massive quotes there, of sense. Alright, I get it. It's a Crash Bandicoot game. It's not supposed to have an in-depth story. But this story just has so many plot holes, mistakes, and other things that make the characters look like idiots. Kinda reminds me of another game I know. Anyway, let's get to the gameplay. So in Crash Bandicoot Entranced, you get to play as 3 different characters: Crash, Crunch, and Coco. With Crash being the main character, it's pretty obvious that he gets most of the glory, even though that wasn't clear enough to Traveler's Tales. That was until Crash to Insanity came out, but we're not reviewing Crash to Insanity, no, we're reviewing these 2 games. Crash's levels play, look, and sound much better than XS's. The levels actually feel like they have more in them. The level designers actually incorporated many different parts of the level to add challenge, like the poles Crash has to use to get across ledges. Some of the levels also have vehicles in them. There's the helipack making a return from Wrath of Cortex, although it's 2D and controls much better, and there's the flying carpet. They both control really well, and it's a nice break from Crash's gameplay. We also have 3 other types of levels: the hamster ball, the space chase, and the get the hell away from the shark! The hamster ball levels make a return from Wrath of Cortex. You get to control Crunch, and I honestly enjoyed these levels from Wrath of Cortex, but here, I honestly didn't think they were that good. There are 2 things added to the ball: a brake and a speed up button. I like the attention to detail here, but it doesn't matter since the level design completely ruins these levels for me. I'm sorry, but these levels just do not work with a 3D object on a 2D plane. It's weird to tell where you go, and you have to traverse through these levels slowly just so you don't fucking die. One of the things I liked about the hamster ball in Wrath of Cortex was that you could speed up and smash into crates. You were going to move really fast in those levels, and the level designers wanted to make sure that you could have fun with that. It feels like the exact opposite here. Crash also gained some new abilities. He already has some of the ones he unlocked from XS, but this time he has some brand new abilities, the high jump and the super slide. The high jump as well, it's an incredibly high jump, but you can't move that much while in the air. You also have the super slide, which is basically the slide but incredibly fast, and you can go really far. This honestly makes the relics pretty enjoyable since you're going really fast, if you know the level design well and abuse the move just right. You can probably get a platinum relic very easily, it's that powerful. Speaking of relics, there is something I have to say that's awesome. In order to get the true ending of this game, you do not need the gems or relics. Yes! In order to get the true ending, you have to collect gem shards. Gem shards are broken pieces of the gems found in hidden parts of the level. There are 3 gem shards with a color labeling them. If you collect all the gem shards associated with a certain color, you will gain a new level. And these gem shard levels are fucking brutal. I mean, Jesus. They aren't that hard after getting used to them, but at first playthrough they will kick your ass. After beating the levels, you get to fight Entropy, which is the true final boss. Which this should be a good time to talk about the bosses. The bosses in this game, with the exception of 2, actually feel challenging and are honestly a lot fun. A fuck ton better than XS's bosses. The only 2 bosses in this game that suck are Fate Crash and Entropy. They both feel incredibly lazy. Fate Crash is just a mirrored version of Crash, which you have to kill with random hazards within the boss, which is just as, if not more easy than Crash 2's final boss. And Entropy, the true final boss, is literally a downgraded version of his fight in Crash Warped. Just dodges attacks and jump across. But other than that, the bosses in this game were pretty good. And that's Crash Bandicoot Entranced. I didn't really talk about Entranced because most of the things are already explained in XS. I say it's a really solid Crash title. I don't really come back to it that often, but when I do, it's a nice, fun little game to play. I give Crash Bandicoot 2 Entranced a 6 out of 10. And that's Crash Bandicoot on GBA. Yes, I am aware there are other handheld... And that's Crash Bandicoot on GBA. Yes, I am aware there are other handheld Crash titles that I really don't intend to buy since I don't particularly care about them. I'll just be fine with these 2 babies right here. As of now, well, I'm done. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. What's the next game we're revisiting? What the... Hold on a minute. Is this... I thought I already did this one. Why am I doing this again? Join me in the next revisit. Wait, why am I doing this to myself? Join me in the next revisit as I try to not kill myself over Sonic Heroes. Fuck. Damn it. Before I make this video, I just want to say this. If you're some kid who likes this game and doesn't understand the term opinion, I would suggest you to turn off the video now. Thank you. Sonic Heroes, a Sonic game that I have already done a revisit on, but this is going to be my final look at this game. The reason why I'm revisiting this game again is because I wasn't satisfied with my other reviews. I revisited this game the first time just to fit it in with the Sonic Marathon I was doing at the time, though the review was worse than my first review. But I also didn't want to revisit this game because the Sonic community sucks ass. No, it's not as bad as the FNAF community, but it would make a good runner-up. And no matter what, you will always, and I mean always, have a little kid say you're a dumbass, a Sonic hater, or that you're wrong about this or that Sonic game, that the game is actually good or bad. I used to get into many ridiculous flame wars and random comment sections that featured this game. So many people got pissed at me for calling it a bad game, and this is one of the reasons why I don't reply to some of my comments, whether they are good or bad. And yes, I'm not even fucking joking. Just by saying Sonic Heroes is bad, nothing more like this game is shit or fuck Sonic Heroes. Just saying Sonic Heroes is bad. Even if you put in my opinion in the comment, people will still get pissed off at you for saying that you don't like the game. But this is going to be different. I'm going to be making a truly honest review of this game. I'm going to be stating how this game is a poor, lazily designed game, and back up those reasons with legitimate reasons. I may have written that wrong. And do not be saying that I am blindly hating the game because I'm playing the PS2 version. People have told me that the PS2 version is the worst version, and if I played the other versions of the game, I would actually like it. Alright then, so do the other versions fix the awful controls, the poor teamwork gimmick, the awful piece of shit special stages, and pretty much all the other issues this game has? No, it only fixes the frame rate, visuals, and collision detection? Seriously, how much cocaine have you been snorting to come up with that idea? Get this through your fucking skulls, kids. Good graphics do not make a good game. We play video games because we want to have fun, and the gameplay is what makes a game fun, or not fun, not the visuals. If you guys aren't understanding what I mean, then let me put it like this. Imagine that you have a crush on this really cute guy or girl, really depending on what your gender is or your sexuality. You ask them out and you date said person, but they turn out to be arrogant douchebags. Regardless of how fucking cute or hot they are, they're still assholes. Regardless of how good a game looks, it doesn't mean it's gonna be fun. I've met and gotten in flame wars with so many people who think good graphics make a good game. So stop telling me that I am blindly hating Sonic Heroes because the PS2 version is the visually worst port. I dislike this game because of its gameplay. Speaking of gameplay, let's get into that, shall we? Sonic Heroes is a Sonic game that has team-based gameplay. Now stop right there! Already I see something wrong. The concept of this game is team-based gameplay, which involves you to play as different characters to help each other out to progress on your quest. Games like Tak 3 and Fantastic Four, the movie game, actually does this really well. Though when it comes to a Sonic game, it's a completely different scenario. Keep in mind, Sonic the Hedgehog is a series that involves high-speed action platforming. High-speed gameplay has been a huge part in the series, and probably the main thing that made Sonic popular. If it wasn't for the high-speed gameplay, Sonic would not stick out to other mascot platformers, which is why he was so fun to play as in the regular Sega Genesis days, and which is why he got to compete with Nintendo with the Mario franchise. Now most of you are probably like, Loaten, what does this have to do with team-based gameplay? That's completely irrelevant to the topic. Well, I'll explain to you why it has to do with team-based gameplay. A team-based game has you play more than one character, like no fucking shit. Say that you come up to a part that involves you to change your character, but before you came up to that part, you were building up lots of speed and running really fast, like how Sonic games do, and you're having a jolly good time. But now that enjoyment is ruined, considering that you have to stop dead in your tracks just to switch to a character to pass a certain part of the game to get back to the high-speed gameplay, only to have the same thing to happen a fucking again. That sounds tedious as all hell, right? Well, guess what? It's exactly like that in the game. Okay, maybe it's not all about the speed. Is the team-based gameplay actually fun? Spoiler alert, no. Let me compare this game to Tak 3. In Tak 3, you got to play as Tak and Locke. Tak and Locke had all kinds of different abilities designed to compensate with the many areas of gameplay that involves Tak and Locke to help each other to progress throughout the level. But in Sonic Heroes, all of the characters don't have that many abilities. Alright, so let's look at a list of how Tak and Locke were able to help each other using their abilities in the Great Juju Challenge. 1. Locke can't swim, so Tak has to swim across a lake of water to find a way to get him across. Tak could either find a switch or use his grappling hook. Number 2. Some areas are too high to reach. Locke would have to pick up Tak and throw him up to that high ledge for Tak to do the thing he's supposed to do. Number 3. Tak sometimes has to get enemies that are far away. Tak can throw some magic ball thing to hit him. Locke can't do that. Number 4. The lake is full of gators, so neither Tak or Locke can swim in the water. But Locke has a lobster suit, so he can explore underwater and make some platforms for Tak to run across. Number 5. Tak can spawn barrels to blow up certain barriers so both Tak and Locke can progress through the levels. Number 6. Locke can heal himself, but when near Tak he can also heal him too. Number 7. Okay, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't read the rest of this and take this seriously. Basically, Tak and Locke both had a lot of abilities in the Great Juju Challenge. Number 1. The speed character can wall jump to get across certain areas. Number 2. The power character can break through walls and hover up a fan. Number 3. The flight character can fly across ledges. Wait, is there a number 4? What? Wait, that's it? What the hell? So little variation, like my god. You've already broken the Sonic formula. The very least you could do is make the gameplay that breaks the formula good. But no, you just had to be lazy. But I shouldn't be surprised. This game is the textbook example of lazy. And no, I'm not even insulting the game. This game has so many things that were so lazily done. All the team's characters have the same abilities, and all the teams have the same level design, but the length of each level may vary from which team you play, and why? You should have at the very least given us new layouts for the levels so things don't get too tedious, but no! You just put the goal ring somewhere else in the level! And that's not the only lazy thing this game does. The boss fights in this game are pitiful. Boss 1 is pretty good. You have to use all the characters' combat abilities to defeat the boss. And honestly, it was a really good starter boss. It's how a starter boss should play in a team-based game. Boss 2 is, wait, we're doing a team battle already? Oh, okay, I guess. Boss 3 is, wait, we're just fighting robots? Hordes of them? What the fuck? Well, you couldn't just give me a new Eggman robot to fight? We're already fighting enough robots in this game as it is. Why do we have to make a boss out of it? And boss 4 and 5 and 6 are recycled from 1, 2, and 3. If you think that's not lazy, then I don't know what is. Oh, and boss 4 is incredibly boring. Hell, it was even boring on the 3DS port of Sonic Generations. And no, I didn't play the true final boss, because why would I want to put myself through the pain and misery to complete Team Dark's story? And play the very awful, very sinful special stages. But before I talk about that, I need to talk about the controls. The controls of this game are slippery and way too fucking fast. It feels like you're running on ice, and in a game that absolutely loves platforming with bottomless pits, that does not help. I have, on more than one occasion, missed a checkpoint due to this issue. Really, game? You're really gonna bring the speed levels all the way up in a game that not only has levels that don't work with said controls, but is already breaking the idea of being fast in a Sonic game? Like, that makes no sense whatsoever! How could the developers be this nonsensical while developing this game? Now, with the special stages. Not really much is seen here. You have to go after the Chaos Emerald and you collect these things, which gives you a boost. But my god, the controls get worse. Oh boy, they get so much worse. How the fuck do you expect me to get a Chaos Emerald with these shady ass controls? I mean, you expect me to do that? Why? Also, the level design isn't very good. Like I said, the game likes to throw in many areas with bottomless pits. I mean, there are a few good set pieces here and there, but for the most part, it's basically
Die, fall, deal with these shitty controls, etc.
But there are also other levels that just seem more lazy and poorly designed. The pinball stage is incredibly annoying, the physics are shit, and the Rail Canyon level pretty much speaks for itself. The level has more bottomless pits and is filled to the brim with rails, which not only jumping to other rails is bugged up the rails' ass, but it's just so boring running on rails throughout 80% of the level. And it also just looks lazy. It's like the developers didn't even try to make this a good game. They just did it to make the game, but didn't add any polish or even looked at it and thought, maybe we should try to add more content to make it any more entertaining. I was originally gonna record footage of all the stories, but I was just so fucking bored throughout playing Team Sonic and just gave up. Though I have played the game and completed all the stories except Team Dark. The positives I can give this game is that the visuals and the soundtrack are pretty good. The songs are okay, but some are just kind of boring like Rail Canyon. I think the aesthetics are fucking amazing for a Sonic game. In fact, and I know I might piss a lot of people off, but I think this has probably the best visuals in a Sonic game by far. Not graphically, just aesthetically. Now, after all the shit I've said so far, is this game really that bad? Well, yeah, it is. It's fucking atrocious. Now, if you like this game, that is completely fine by me. I'm not gonna be rude to you for enjoying something you honest to God enjoy. In my opinion, I thought this game was really atrocious. If you're really into playing a team-based video game, buy Tactical Juju Challenge. It is very well designed, it has amazing visuals, it has an awesome soundtrack, and the comedy is pretty good. And most importantly, it's fun! For Sonic Heroes, well, not that much. I give Sonic Heroes a 2 out of 10. Now, I would have given it a 4 out of 10, but considering of how fucking tedious this game is, it's 2 points down. Sonic Heroes, 2 out of 10. Now, this part of the video is kind of unscripted. I was originally just going to say that I'm going to be reviewing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, but I think I'm just going to stop right here for the revisit marathon and just do something else. This review took a while to make because Sonic Heroes is fucking awful, okay? It's terrible, and I honestly didn't want to play it at all, but of course I had to, and what's funny is that the videos don't really work that well in my freaking editor, so it kind of fucking sucks because I only had to use a couple of clips, and you know, maybe I'll find another YouTuber's videos that I could use, but yeah, it fucking sucks because I had to waste all my time for footage that didn't fucking work. But whatever. So yeah, I'm just gonna stop the revisit marathon and just review whatever the fuck I want to review. Maybe I've been thinking about revisiting Shadow the Hedgehog, but you know, whatever. But until next time, which probably will be 4 months again because I'm very inconsistent when it comes to making reviews. I'm Loaten Reviews. Thanks for watching. Adios.